Welcome to Talk Birdie to Me with former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn and Tour Pro Mark Allen, live from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. And thanks to our great partners, Host Plus, the official retirement partner of Talk Birdie to Me. Driving a BMW is like hitting the perfect shot. Smooth, controlled and powerful. Titleist, the clear number one ball in golf. FootJoy, the number one shoe and glove in golf. Better, when the greats bet, they bet with Better. Ping will help you play your best. And the Golf Clearance Outlet, who beat everyone's prices. Now, here's Nick and Mark.
Well, hello and welcome everyone to a big podcast after the Australian Open. As you can see, I'm by myself here. Well, not by myself. I got Dan next to me, but Mark.
Thank you.
Mark, he booked flights for the Australian PGA, but he got the dates wrong. So he's up there this week instead of a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, Mark is up on the, where are you, Gold Coast?
I'm on the Sunshine Coast.
Sunshine Coast.
I'm on Hastings Street.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Living the dream. Living the dream. Hey, did you catch the...
nice little holiday.
Beautiful. Did you catch the Aussie Open, mate? It was massive.
You know what? It was so wonderful to see the Australian Open pretty much how it should be done. Pretty much. I've got a few issues still along the way, Nick, and we'll get to those soon.
It's
but my
him.
God, doesn't it prove it that if you build it, they will come?
Indeed.
And we've seen what happened in Live in Adelaide. You know, you put up the big stands and you bring the big players and you sell it out, 3 years in a row now? Well, finally, we've got a good player, and they're hard to get. You know, Rory McIlroy, he's not going to be available all the time for us. I mean, he's coming next year to Kingston Heath. We know that. Who knows what happens after? But when you get a big-name player coming to Australia and you're playing the best golf courses, well, we've all seen the results. A wonderful, wonderful look on the TV that's been broadcast right around the planet.
Yeah, the views, the drone footage by APAC Productions was unbelievable. I mean, the scenes, and we saw a whole bunch of social media video clips going all around the world with people watching all different podcasts, funnily enough, like the No Laying Up guys, the Teared Up Pod, Flushing It, I think, on Twitter. They were huge.
It seemed like everyone was
Nuclear
there.
Golf, all the big ones, and they were just going, how good does this look? It almost looks like a major, pretty much, has that major feel. Even I think Rory said that on the Thursday morning when they were teeing off, and also the Friday, he said, this doesn't feel like a regular event. It feels like a major. And the other two events going on this week, which was the Nedbank, I think in South Africa, and then the PGA Tour event in Albany in the Bahamas, which is Tiger's event. He said, nothing compared to this, nothing.
There was nobody there, Nick. I don't know whether you watched it. You were probably golfed out. I had a look at the Nedbank last night. It looked like, you know, one of our smaller events. You know, it looked like the WA Open. and then you go to the Bahamas or wherever they are on Ernie Els' golf course, and you've got the biggest names in American golf over there and a few internationals.
Yeah.
And honestly, it looked like, you know, the crowds at the Cathedral Invitational will be just as big as they were at those events.
I think it'll be bigger,
the
actually.
The Australian Open and the look of the Australian Open on TV, when we do it properly, and we don't do it, you know, we don't try and please everybody, which we know you can't do that. When you actually just stick to the task, let's run the best golf tournament we possibly can on the best golf courses that we have in the country. And hey, presto, you've got something that we're really proud of all of a sudden. Now, in saying that,
I know where you're going. Go for it.
There's a few things that we need to fix. I'm not going to give them all away, but because in my top five a little bit later, it's my turn for the top five. Thankfully, I don't have to do a masterclass again after last week. I'm not going to give them all away. I've got to give you one though.
Okay.
I've got to give you one, and I'm going to go. I'm just going to go with the simple one. No, I'm not. I'm going to go with the big one. I'm going to go with the big one.
All right, go on.
We just have to. We have to move it away, and we have to move it away from the worst date opposite these guys. Now, Nick, you and I both know this. Is it Brian Rollup? Is that the CEO's name?
Brian Rollup, new CEO of the PGA Tour, was chatting with Tiger last week or the week before. Yeah, you go right ahead. I know where you're going. Perfect.
Righto. So he is suggesting, because his strategy coming from the NFL is all about scarcity.
Yeah.
So if you've got all these tournaments at the moment that might average somewhere between $5 and $8 million, maybe $5 and $10 million is your average, somewhere there on the PGA Tour. He wants to turn the PGA Tour schedule into a much tighter affair to where he is suggesting that they start the season after the Super Bowl.
Right,
you and I have looked it up this morning. The Super Bowl starts, I think it's a Sunday, the 8th of February, 2026.
Yeah, 9th or something like that.
I think that's right.
Yep.
8th or 9th. And he wants it to finish the season before the next NFL season starts. So if that's the case, then, Nick, moving it to the first week of February, I had a quick look at the Australian Open tennis as well. That finishes on the 1st of Feb.
Yes.
So if you moved the Australian Open to where it's straight after the Australian Open tennis, so pretty much Super Bowl week or maybe the week after Super Bowl week, I don't know when the US PGA Tour, then that makes a hell of a lot of sense because you will get players coming down here much easier. One, just to keep their touch going, playing tournament golf, and to play in an event that they've all just watched on TV, probably with their mouths open, going, "Wow, how good does that look?"
Now,
and two, it's a nice little warm up. You get all the big players.
Well, I was just, funnily enough, it's not going to happen 2026 just because
that's right.
We've had the Australian Open.
It's already out.
But if, as an example, if it did happen in 2026, you know what? The week after that Super Bowl weekend, when we have the Australian Open on, you know what tournament's on?
Is it?
It's a big one.
February. It's not the Arizona one.
No, it's Live Adelaide. So guess what?
Live Adelaide.
Guess what? The only problem is actually the week before they're in Live Riyadh. So all those guys have to play that one. So they'll need to pick a date somewhere there where there's a week before or the week after Live Adelaide. Then you're going to get all those John Rahms,
right?
You know, Brooks Koepka's, Bryson DeChambeau's playing at the same time.
Nick, this is magnificent. Then this is the greatest thing to ever happen to Australian golf. This is it. Now, if James Sutherland and the people who run the tournament, if they are not calling Brian Rollap right now and saying, "Brian, we need to talk and we need to get Liv there as well, whoever's running Liv, and say, okay, if you really want to do the best thing for world golf, how about we have the Australian Open the week after the Super Bowl? Liv can be here as well because all those Liv players can, well, hopefully, if you win the tournament, you get the Masters and the British Open starts.
Exactly.
Like the Australian Open did this year.
Mm-hmm.
That means all the Liv players will play for bugger all. They'll be here pumping it up. The Australian Open, you know, if you've got a lot of the Liv players and a lot of the US Tour players trying to get their, you know, a little bit of a practice in before their season starts on a much tighter schedule where getting off to a good start would be, you tell us, Nick, if you've only got 25 tournaments to work with on the PGA Tour before the FedEx Cup finals, how good a start do you need to get off to?
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to fly.
You got to go.
You've got to get off to a flyer.
Mm-hmm. That's why all the guys go to the Sony Open and those ones early on, and the funny thing was with the PGA Tour schedule, when they have it at Pebble in February or early February, whenever they do, it's too early in the year. You need that almost pushed back to late February, early March, and because they get a massive, obviously, bump in the ratings and all that. But the weather's so much better there. Wouldn't you love to see a really good Pebble Beach where the weather's actually nice? Because usually they get that cold, misty, damp sort of feel to it. Every now and then they get some good weather, but it's a bit of a guessing game.
Nick, if what they did was pick and choose the very best events, the best events on that PGA Tour, one, every tournament's can't miss, and all the players are going to be playing together, just like this Brian Rollap character envisions. And let's say all the tournaments are $20 million. I mean, who knows what they're going to get to?
Yeah,
who knows? It could be something absolutely spectacular. But here's the important bit. James Sutherland, I bet he's nursing a headache right now. He's had the greatest, he should have been celebrating last night. Well done to you, James. Well done. But make a phone call right now. Let's get the three of you guys talking together right now. Brian Rollap, whoever's running Liv, and you and you go over there and have a coffee and say, okay, boys, what the hell is 2027 looking like? Because we have this amazing situation in Melbourne let's say, Kingston Heath next year, so maybe it's back at Royal Melbourne. Maybe it's back at Royal Melbourne in 2027. Who knows? But it's got to start now. You can't just, roll around going, how good are we?
Absolutely.
Wasn't that great?
Well,
wasn't that great? You've got to forecast what is going to happen in golf and get ahead of the curve.
Maybe they already have. He's fired up here. He was sitting back before,
really
nice and relaxed, just sipping on a pina colada up there in Noosa, and now he's almost screaming at the phone, saying, "Come on, James, do it!" But
Nick, you and I are both very passionate about Australian golf, Nick.
I know.
I know. You might yell and scream like an idiot, like I do, but I know you are as passionate as me about what is possible down here. But you can't have it after you just can't. You can't have it up against these other events.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Australian Open for starters. It began with the week with Rory saying Royal Melbourne isn't the best course in Melbourne, which, hey, whatever.
Whatever.
Know your audience. But anyway.
I'm with you.
To be fair, he did go on to say that, but it is amazing that both courses are incredible in Melbourne. So he wasn't just.
No. And there are other people who love Kingston Heath more. I mean, I know Ian Baker Finchie we had on Kingston Heath is his favourite course in the world. Now, it's all an opinion. It is what it is. But I'm curious to know now after the 4 days, because we saw everything. That first day we had the hot northerly. The second day we got the wind switch. We had the southerly. The third day we had a bit of rain. And then yesterday was a bit of it came from the west. It was a slightly different wind again, then switched to the south. But 4 days that were completely different. Yesterday, they had the Sunday pins, which I loved. I mean, they're the typical.
They're good.
Put them in those spots where it's going to be hard. That yak score by South African Michael Hollick, he shot 6 under with those pins. Unbelievable. I think the next best was 67 or 68. It was a tough golf course and not long, obviously. But Rory, I mean, what a week for him. He had an air swing at one point. He had a lie where there was a banana on his ball.
I know.
Yes.
Then down the right-hand side of 2, behind a banana peel of all things. No relief given.
He was grinding to make the cut. I mean, we were sweating bullets on the Friday because when he made that air swing and he's got an 8-footer for bogey on the 14th, if he misses this, he goes 2 shots, I think, outside the cut line. And it's not easy, those closing holes. He had the par 5 to come. But he makes it, and then he takes driver on 15. And I think at the time I was looking at Ali, she's looking at me in the commentary booth, and we go, if he hits this right, he's going to miss the cut. But he just went,
it's
bang.
over.
And he hit the best drive he hit all week, pitched it on, makes birdie. Birdie's 17 and 18, and I'm sure James Sutherland went, whew, thank goodness, because if he'd have missed the weekend. But it shows the class of the guy. I mean, incredible.
I reckon if there was a defibrillator close by to James Sutherland, when he made that air swing, they might have taken it off the wall, I reckon. It might have just been put in they turned the thing on and just get ready because it looked like it. Nick, can I take you all the way back to round 1?
Yeah.
I was at the golf on that Thursday. That is the most horrendous wind you can ever imagine playing a golf course like Royal Melbourne. The fact that Elvis Smiley, I think he had 7 birdies, which is over a third of the holes that he played.
3-putted his first hole of the day.
3-putted that and then did what he did to shoot the 65. Ryan Fox, he had 8 birdies. He almost birdied half the golf course on the most horrendous day. I mean, those 3 65s on day 1, I left that golf course that day scratching my head.
Yeah.
Just how good are these players?
Well, the good news was the night before we spoke to the rules officials and they said they're not going to cut or roll the greens or do anything from the Wednesday. So if they had have cut them, no one would have shot those scores. Par would have been a heck of a score. So they did the right thing. They put the pins in the 18 most accessible positions on those greens for that wind. And then come the Friday, they double cut, rolled them. They went to about 11.5 on the stint. Saturday, again, double cut, roll them, 12. And then yesterday, they basically got them up to about 13 yesterday. Now, that's where you want them for an Australian Open. at Royal Melbourne with light winds. If the winds kick up, that can get a bit dicey, especially with those pins. But I thought the weather was absolutely perfect. And the finish, oh my gosh. I mean,
oh my God.
That was.
Talk us through the finish. Talk us through what you were thinking, Nick, because I was sitting by the pool watching, not really understanding what was happening. But just Rasmus and Smith, when you and I have been talking about his golf swing, it's not where he wants it at the moment. I'm sure his golf swing is not where he wants it. It's an improvement. It's getting there. But it just shows you the intestinal fortitude that this player has.
Yep.
They have that rotten, horrifying 7 from 7 missed cut season in 2025. Didn't make one cut in the majors. Played terrible. To come to the last tournament of the year, a big one that he covets, for him to do what he did, that putt on 17, holy moly, just to stay with it. I mean, the guts, he's a star. He's a star, and hopefully 2026 he can turn it all around.
Yeah, well, it was so amazing. 17, you had Siwoo Kim, I think he's one back of Smith and Rasmus, and the iron shot Rasmus hit into 17 was unbelievable. I mean, he flighted it down into the breeze. Was it down breeze? It might have been down breeze, but he was trying to chase it back there. He's normally a really high ball hitter. Hit a stunning iron. Cam flips it, goes a little left. The lie had a bit to do with it. The ball was above his feet. But when he had that pitch shot and he didn't get a good lie, I thought, oh, okay, here we go. And he got it to a reasonable, 15, 16 feet, maybe 18 feet up the hill. Tough putt, really tough putt. And then Rasmus, for all money, I thought his eagle putt was in. And I'm thinking 2-shot swing. He's going to have a 2-shot lead. Gets to the hole, goes sideways. Cam's putt never looked like it was missing. It was one of the best putts or strokes he made all week. They're level going up the last. I actually thought Cam's swing was really good Sunday. Like, he drove the ball beautifully. It was a big test, that 18th tee shot for him, because I think the wind's out the left, which is never a good wind for right-handers on 18, because with the right-hand pin, you don't want to hit it up the right. You want to hit it up the left-hand side. And he nutted that tee shot, absolutely nutted it. And then Rasmus did the same. And then when he hits it right, Rasmus, out on, apparently, I mean, I didn't actually realise this until someone said later, apparently it's called Dunk's Island over there. Billy Dunk got it up and down from over there 50 years ago or something. But when it didn't go in the sand and it went in there, I've gone, oh, well, all Cam's got to do is hit middle of the green. The only thing he doesn't want to do is go long left, because long left, we've been watching it all afternoon, and it was a tough 2-putt, really tough to get it anywhere within.
Hey, just on that tough putt, Nick, and watching it all day, did he have to go closer to the bunker? How close did he reckon he had to go to the bunker to actually get it within a gimme?
You had to go almost right up to it. The higher you went, the more it was going to break, because we've been watching it all afternoon. Now, I thought he did a really good job to get it to, it was about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, under the hole, straight up the hill, maybe a touch of left to right. I thought where he put it was ideal, and he was going to have that putt to win the tournament, because Rasmus, from where he was, to hit the shot he did, I think he got it to 20, 25 feet. You could do that 1 in 10, maybe, from where he was. The rest of the time, you're going to chunk it in the bunker or hit it 50 feet past. It was an incredible chip shot. But then to have the stones to stand up, go through his routine, hole that putt, that was massive, because no one had really holed that putt other than Rory McIlroy. I think he made it for birdie on that final hole. And then you're going, okay, we're going to a playoff.
Yeah.
And then Cam missed. That was, I mean, you could actually hear the air go out of the entire, I mean, you were there, weren't you, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you just went whoosh.
It's not to be.
And it was a little bit like, it was funny, Ali was sitting next to me. She said it was like the Open Championship that Cam won at St Andrews when Rory, didn't make that putt on 17 and he needed to eagle the last on 18. It was like that sort of a feeling where the crowd's just gone, it was one of those. So, look, hats off to Rasmus. I mean, he played amazing. His caddy, Brian Nielsen's an Aussie guy. I've known him for almost 30 years, one of the nicest guys out there. He said for him to win an Australian Open was his Ashes. It was just brilliant for him. So, and all credit. And I saw something earlier about, how's the engraver going to go putting Rasmus Sneergaard Peterson on the trophy, because there's really no room with all the other names. It's chaos. So
anyway. What are they going to do? What are they going to do about that? I mean,
they just put an R in Peterson, I'm assuming. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but
Sneergaard Peterson, maybe that's what they do. Yeah. It's funny, your commentary you got to do some special comments.
Yeah.
And it was one of the only times you got to do some special comments. I'll talk about that in my top five a little bit later.
Okay.
It's a big part of it. It's a big part of my top five a little bit later to improve the Australian Open. But his special comments were superb about his shot out of Dunks Island. The way it just went up and the club stopping dead, and you can just see how tough and how thick that, even though it was a good lie on Dunks Island, it was still a really, what do you call it? Like a wire brush sort of, just horrible lie.
Yeah.
Very good effort.
But when they showed the replay of his putt going in, just to talk about the air going out of the tournament, it's the only slow motion replay I've ever seen where a putt goes in and everybody in the background, their hands go on their head in disgust. It was so strange to see that.
What a pass! Nearguard Peterson first in at 15 under.
Yeah.
At the DP World at the finale, Rasmus actually played with Rory McIlroy in the last group. And I'd never really heard much about this kid, Rasmus. I mean, he's just got his card on the US tour. So he's after one season, basically on the European tour. So he's a class player, but I didn't know much about him. And when they introduced him on the Sunday night, I'm kind of watching him going, geez, how's this kid going to go with Rory trying to win the thing and screaming and crowds and pressure? And he shot 68 and looked like he played every bit as well as Rory. So I reckon a couple of podcasts ago, we spent about a minute on Rasmus saying what a player he was and someone to watch in the future. I know he didn't have his best stuff on Sunday playing in the last group. What did he shoot? 1 or 2 under or something?
He shot 1 under. He made bogeys on 9 and 10. I'm just looking at the scores, and you thought, okay, this is...
But he birdied 3 of his last 7 to win it.
Yeah, exactly. 12 and 13.
Including, you might as well call it a birdie on 18 from where he was.
Basically,
to make par from that lie is as good as a birdie. So what he did in the last 7 holes at Royal Melbourne when the title was on the line tells us all enough about this kid. And the fact that he wouldn't get scared off the leaderboard when he was playing with Rory and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that is great. Just on Cam Smith, you tell us, Nick, is one good tournament enough to turn a 2026 around for him? I think golf's a funny game. I think you can get 1 week that changes everything for you. What do you think after watching him all week?
Well, yeah, he was obviously so disappointed after the Australian PGA Championship. He missed all the cuts in the majors. He'd had a reasonable year on live. I mean, it wasn't great by his standards. Dan asked me earlier, he said, look, if you'd have said to Cam, take second at the beginning of the week, would he have taken it? And I'm not sure. In a sense, he probably would have, because then he knows at least his form's back. But for him, the money doesn't mean anything. It's all about winning that championship at Royal Melbourne. You only get, for me, I never got a chance to win an Australian Open. Now I had a chance to win the Heineken Classic at Royal Melbourne, but Craig Parry beat me in a 4-hole playoff, that little son of a whatever. And when you look back on your career, you go, if you've got on your resume, Augusta, St Andrews, Royal Melbourne, Pebble Beach, whatever, those iconic golf courses, those cathedrals of the game, you're in a pretty special club. And I'm sure Wayne Riley, for example, Australian Open winner there, Greg Norman's won around there, etc. Peter Thompson, funnily enough, never won at Royal Melbourne, which kind of baffled me a little bit.
Tom Watson won there?
Tom Watson. You look at those names and you're in this club of iconic, players and tournaments. So he'll look back and think, I can't believe that got away from me. But hopefully, as you say with the Australian Open, it goes back there very soon, and they just get more and more chances. And I think you and I, maybe we need to start practicing if it goes back, because we maybe should give it a go. Because what I loved watching as well? Guys like John Sendon, Stephen Leaney, Greg Chalmers. Like Greg Chalmers finished tied for 14th.
Greg Chalmers played awesome.
Yeah, so Sendo and Leaney, it's funny, I had dinner with my old agent, and he sort of still helps all of us guys. He's an ex-IMG guy, Tony Buffley. Buff.
Yeah, I know. Wolf,
and I was talking about Sendo and Leany playing. He says, yeah, look, they've come here because of the memories. You know, they've come there. Look, will they win? Well, probably not, but they may have a good run at it. But I think they both had their sons on the bag. I mean, how good is that to play an Australian Open at Royal Melbourne and have your sons caddy for you? Greg actually had a chance for a while there. He was right up there. You had Rod Pamping playing as well. I mean, he was, loving being there. Then you had someone like a Siwoo Kim who wasn't even playing. He's the Korean guy who finished third. He wasn't even meant to play, but he gave a late call up to Jeff Ogilvy and said, hey, can you help me get a start? Because Royal Melbourne, I mean, come on, let's play. And then saw on Twitter Max Homer, who he wants to now play at Kingston Heath next year and all this sort of stuff. You put it on these great golf courses, and if you build it, they will come sort of scenario, I think. Yeah. Well,
look, honestly, when you look at the other two events that I'm sure you'll do in the Ping Globals a little bit later, Sun City, it looked like a WA Open, I promise you. And the other one in the Bahamas, it looked like some kind of practice round for they were just messing around. Compared to our tournament, totally different. Hey, you talked about a lot of the players who did well. What about some of the players who missed the cut? I didn't even realise Charlie Hoffman was down here.
Yeah, I saw Charlie out there on the practice round.
Yeah, a couple of 73s. He missed the cut. What about Neiman? Joaquin Neiman missed both cuts.
2 for 2, yeah. You could see his head was off on Thursday when he started. He hit driver down 15 and, he was basically going to make double or birdie on that hole. But he missed by a mile. Very disappointing for him. And the other guy, who had a tough Sunday, I thought, Minwoo Lee, everyone had big expectations, but he just didn't have it. Made a couple of poor strategic decisions early on, I think, and that sort of cost him. Yeah. But Adam Scott, again, always up there. Man, if he could hold some putts, that guy, because the way he hits it's incredible.
Last one on just what we're talking about here. The Australian PGA as well. Now, let's call it what it is. The BMW Australian PGA.
Yeah.
It's a big event in Australia. It is enormous. I think it's time. Now, I know it's not at RQ, but if we're going to have the Australian Open in Melbourne, then I think to attract players and to have players wanting to come back, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, Brizzy, but you're just not Sydney. And RQ, even though it's, there's been upgraded and, there's a strategy, it's just not the Australian Golf Club. It's not Royal Sydney Golf Club.
Yeah.
And these players who, it might only be the only time they ever come down to Australia, to play on the Sandbelt in an Australian Open and then to exit via Sydney, go see the Opera House, go see the Harbour Bridge, go and check out Bondi Beach, all these things that they've heard so much of Australia about. This is Australia. Then here's our opportunity to where you're bringing these players down for not 1 week, you're bringing them down for 2. And that's including the live players if live keeps on going. If that is a possibility, then we've got to get everybody in a room and say, listen, have a look at the crowds. Look what this means to golf. We just need more of it. And then to piggyback into slingshot off what we've seen this week. Okay? You know what? It was a 2 out of 10 the last 3 years, the Australian Open. A 2 out of 10. This year, it's gone to an 8. Pretty soon in my top 5, I'm going to tell James Sutherland and anyone else who wants to listen how to get it to a 10 out of 10. Not a major, not the 5th major, but something that we are all incredibly proud of. And not just one Australian Open, both of them.
Yeah. Boys, before we go to the turn, it's time for the BMW Touch of Class.
Touch of class.
Driving a BMW is like hitting the perfect shot.
Well, that is pure magic.
Okay, my turn this week, Nick. Now, about 6 months ago, I said it would take a full-on miracle for the fringes at Royal Melbourne to get up. Now, I didn't get out in the golf course. I've only watched it on the TV. But my touch of class for this week, thanks to BMW, is Richard Forsyth and his team, because it was a minor miracle. From where those fringes were 6 months ago, it's a real credit to Richard and the around-the-clock work that the Royal Melbourne grounds crew put in. Congratulations, everybody. I know it wasn't perfect, but from watching a million miles away, you wouldn't have had a clue. And you didn't hear anyone complain about the fringes. So as far as anyone knew, watching from around the world, it was business as usual at Royal Melbourne. So to Richard and the super and his team of supers down there, well done. Great effort.
No, it was really good.
Looked amazing.
They did a really good job. And speaking of BMW, funnily enough, I saw Wolfgang out there yesterday. He's back in town for a couple of weeks. Well, he's moving back to Germany for another. I'm not sure what he's doing over there now, but obviously, he built up the BMW Australian PGA Championship. That was his baby, and he loved it. And he was so happy to be back down in Melbourne. So it's good to see him and his family. So.
All right, boys, we're going to go to the turn, and we're going to come back with this top 5, Mark, that you are teasing us with and making us all very excited about. So we'll hear all about that shortly. And we've got a lot of feedback from Wolfpackers on the Australian Open.
All right.
Fabulous. See you on the 10th tee.
Okay. From Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, this is Talk Birdie to Me. We're here for BMW, luxury and comfort for the 19th hole. Host Plus, the official retirement partner of Talk Birdie to Me. The golf clearance outlet, they beat everyone's prices. Ping will help you play your best. And better, ahead of the game. Now for Titleist, the number 1 ball in golf, and FootJoy, the number 1 shoe and glove in golf. Here's Nick and Mark.
Welcome back, everyone. We're on the 10th tee, and it's time for this week's Top 5.
When the greats bet, they bet with better. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
The top 5 for better. When the greats bet, they bet with better.
Top 5, top 5, top 5.
Hang on, it's very difficult to do this. The top 5 next steps to get the Australian Opens to the next level.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Does that make sense? Even though they were very, very good, I still think there is room to improve. At number 5, roll back the clock on the Australians Open, the Women's Australian Open, an LPGA Tour event. I'm not so sure whether Adelaide will take it back now that they've got Live Golf, so that's one thing. But we need to find somewhere else where it's an LPGA event and the best players. The quarters were coming down. Everybody was coming down to play the Women's Australian Open. It was huge when it was in Adelaide. And that's the next big tick. It has to hook up again with the LPGA. Now, there's another meeting for you, James. Go and do that meeting when you've got a couple other meetings on that we were speaking about.
To that point, I think they should put it at the start of the LPGA's Asian Swing. I was talking to a couple of people about that, and I think that's around mid-February-ish as well, because I'm just looking up the schedule now, and I think they're in... Let's see here. They're in Singapore and then China, Thailand around that late February, early March. So if they put it at the start of the Asian Swing, you're going to get all the best players on the LPGA coming down, like the Gino Titicles, the Nelly Cordes, and so on and so forth. Because the list of winners we had remember when they all came down? It was amazing. Inbee Park was winning.
Oh, huge.
Nelly won. It's brilliant. Anyway.
The crowds were enormous in Adelaide. It was a big deal, and it was a great look for Australian golf. So that's got to happen. Yep. Number 4, the Australian Open has to be the start of the Australian Swing. Has to be the start, where Live players can come down and maybe get a Masters and a British Open spot, where US players, I've spoken about this a little bit earlier, they can get some touchback ready to start their season, which looks like it may well be shorter in 2027. So has to be the number 1 tournament, the first one, and straight after tennis, not up against the cricket. Now, I say up against the cricket. I sent you guys on our feed the front and back page of the Herald Sun, which is the highest selling newspaper in Australia, and that newspaper is in Melbourne. That's where its headquarters is. The front and the back page hardly had any golf on it. Guess what they had on it, Nick?
Cricket.
They had the cricket.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
I know.
The cricket's up in Brisbane.
I wonder,
so that's another reason why we have to get it away.
Yeah, I wonder if Cam had a 1, would that have changed? Or if Rory had a 1, I think maybe that might have changed. But yeah, look, nothing against Rasmus. So he was a deserved winner, but we know it wasn't the local favourite, that one. Who knows? But yeah, it should have been Australian.
You know what
Open.
I would have done, Nick, if I'm doing it, what the front page would have been in February, March, right? That would have been Cameron's pain.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been a big headline like that.
Yeah.
Whatever, it should have been the golf. It doesn't matter who wins. You know, Cameron's, his pain, and, you know, a picture of him with his hands on his head or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, but golf wasn't on the back page. It just wasn't. Now, number 3. All right, you might want to block your ears here, Nicholas.
Oh, okay.
But we've got to get the commentary right.
Oh,
now,
well, I thought it was good.
I like Hutto and I love Speedy. Right, I love these guys. But Nick, you are a professional golf commentator, and Ali Whitaker is too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ali Whitaker is the lead commentator on the European Tour.
She's the best.
She leads it.
Yeah, she's so good.
She leads it. And unfortunately, when Hutto and Speedy were there, you two were relegated to being only just kind of there. I almost felt like they didn't give you any time to speak. And we know this, and I'm happy to say this because I'm not part of the commentary team. Golf is a special comments caper. It's all about special comments. You watch something and you talk about it. Hutto and Speedy, God love you boys, but you're not qualified to give special comments on a golf commentating platform. You're just not. Set up a shot, maybe. Actually, not even setting up the shot. How about you and Porter and Paul Gower? They've got the best view in the house. They hardly had time to set up any shots. So, Mod, next year, please, come talk to me. I'll explain to you how to do it a little bit better. So that's number 3.
Okay.
Get the commentary right.
I'm going to step in there and just say I thought Hutto and Speedy did a great job. Obviously got Fox and Channel 9 to cover. There's so much going on at at one time, as you know, that to fit it all in is difficult. But I thought they did a good job, and I thought we gave Ewan and Gowie more time than possibly the previous week. I thought that worked out really well. I think Ali and we tried to fill the gaps when we could. So that's basically all I'll say on that point. I thought it was great.
Nick,
I thought it was
this
great.
has got nothing to do with you. This is my top 5. It's not yours.
Sorry.
It's not
yours.
yours.
You go. Sorry.
It's not yours. And by the way, golf commentary works when there's only 2 people in the booth. You know, it just does. And I know when they're there, they're expected to talk, but it didn't work as far as I was concerned. Now, number 2, and I put it there because of the name 2. This 3's on the weekend, please. When you're playing in a major on the weekend, you're playing 2s. So let's get everybody hitting off at 1:30. And everybody's in a 2. It's faster. It's better. There's nothing better, was there, Nick, back in the day when you rocked up on Saturday and you're playing in a 2 and you knew you had a 4 1/4 hour round going. And number 1, I've only been talking about it
again.
For
I know it's your top 5, but I'm going to stop you there again. Okay.
Yeah.
Big number cut. There was a lot of players made the cut. TV time. We were finishing at 5. Unfortunately, we couldn't do 2s. But yeah, you need later TV and 2s. I totally agree.
Yeah, mate, I understand why, Nick, but they probably wanted to get to the cricket before the cricket started. You know, that's why they didn't offer 1:30. Yeah. That's what I imagine they're doing. But it should be in 2s, no doubt about it, for a major event. I don't care about what happens. It should be in 2s on the weekend. And number 1, only 25 years I've been talking about this. But it's got to go to Elvis's 2 favourite months, February, March. That's when the big golf tournaments should be played in Australia. Just get it away from the cricket. Get it away from the tennis. Get it right before the NRL and the AFL season start, and then golf will totally shine. And then people like Crown and BMW, they'll be getting more bang for their buck when the golf is on the front and the back page of every paper in the country. Anyway, well done to everybody. 8 out of 10. If you want to go to a 10 out of 10, there's your 5 steps.
Very good.
Do you know there was that is a top 5 for better. Do you know there was a lot of? I mean, obviously they're fair points, Mark, that you're making. There was a lot of really good things at the golf that we've already talked about, but there's a couple that I saw that I thought were worth touching on. One, on Thursday, a lot of people arrived really early. I think maybe even 6:30, 6:40, 6:45, and that's prior to the gates opening. But Golf Australia made the decision to open the gates and let everyone in, and that saved outrageous queues, people getting tired and stressed. It was a really, really good move, I thought, a really good move. The other thing I loved was just seeing so many kids there. Kids everywhere.
They were. Yeah.
Kids everywhere, walking around wearing chef's hats for Min Woo. It was great.
Yeah, you had the little chefs running around, little rippers, because Cam and Leash did a clinic, I think, the day before the tournament started. Or it might have been Lucas Herbert, actually, Lucas and Leash. And it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Seeing so many kids. Plus, they're all out there to see Rory as well. So all these future stars coming through.
It was a real plus for golf. There was so much to love, so much to be proud of, and certainly they should be really pleased with how it came out and the event that was put on.
Yeah, that was definitely a plus.
Can I give my own plus for Host Plus too? Just a quick one.
Sure.
Well done, Nick. Your commentary was superb. You're the best. You and Ellie, you're the best two commentators we've got in the country. Hopefully you'll get more time to speak next time around. But you and Ellie, you just were sensational. So that's a plus as well as far as I'm concerned.
Very kind. Thank you. All right, this week's Ping Global results. There actually wasn't a lot on, but we're going to go through it anyway. But there's always more than you think, funnily enough. Australian Open, as we know, Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson, by the way, not Pedersen. Got to get that right.
Oh.
It's interesting trying to get the names right the last couple of weeks with some of the European players. Gouveia was another one. The PGA. Gouvier was thrown around and all these different ways of pronouncing it. So Smith's always a tough one. Yeah. Rory, I don't know how you do it. But quite a win for him. Siwoo Kim in third. I thought also it was a really good week for Elvis. I know you mentioned him earlier, Mark. After that opening 65, he really ground out a tough day two to make the cut. No problem at all, but also give himself a chance. He ended up finishing tied for 8. So a couple of good weeks for Elvis. And but his big challenge is going to come at this year's Cathedral Invitational because he's playing with me in the first round. So
good luck, Elvis.
Yeah, he's going to have his hands full. Not. Also going on
you
was
playing from the forward tees.
Unfortunately, I'm way back with them, so I'm going to be getting out driven by 50 metres all day. So anyway, we're going to have some fun. The Nedbank Golf Challenge in South Africa in honour of Gary Player at the Gary Player Country Club. Thank you very much. Where Norway's Christopher Wrighton had a wire victory. He started the last day 5 ahead, but it got a bit tight towards the end. He only ended up winning by 1 from Dan Bradbury and the local Jaden Shaper. So well done to Christopher. He's a star of the future. Also going on over there in the Bahamas was the Hero World Championships. This one was hosted by Tiger Woods, where Hideki Matsuyama won on the first playoff hole against Alex Noren. Sepp Straka sort of had the tournament in his hands for a while there, but unfortunately let it slip. Scotty Scheffler, as always, was up there but couldn't hole a putt. Still shot 20 under for the week, so it was unbelievable watching that guy. He's a ball-striking machine as per usual. Obviously, he didn't have much time off at the end of the year. Also going on the Champions Tour was the Skechers World Champions Cup, which is that interesting team event. We have the USA, the Internationals, and Europe playing this weird format. It's very strange over a few days. But if you did watch it, it was quite fun, where Europe took the spoils, and they were the winner. The team included Bernard Langer, Mark's favourite player Colin Montgomery, Darren Clark, Thomas Bjorn, Alex Checker, Miguel Angel Jimenez. And the vice-captains were Soren Kelsen and Jesper Parnevik. We had an Aussie playing for the internationals, Mark Hensby, so well done, Mark, for qualifying there. On the Legends Tour, they were in Mauritius, where England's Greg Owen got the win. Michael Campbell played well, tied for 5th. Well done to Cambo. And then they had the second stage of the US PGA Tour Q School going on, where Travis Smythe advanced. So he's in the finals, which starts actually this coming week. It's December 11 to 15 or 14, I think, where they give up 5 cards to the PGA Tour. So hopefully Travis and the other Aussies that are playing, I haven't looked at the final list there. Hopefully they go well. But and then lastly, this week we've got the Cathedral Invitational coming up. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't got your tickets, Wednesday you can get out there and watch all the stars. Adam Scott, Mark Leishman, Jeff Ogilvy, Elvis Smiley, and then Cassie Porter, Kirsten Rudgley on the women's front as well are playing. So it's going to be a lot of fun up there, and we'll enjoy it. So that's this week's Ping Global results.
All right. Time for some feedback, boys, and it's all about the Australian Open this week.
Oh, of course.
Talk Birdie feedback. Thanks to Southern Golf Club.
A number of these pieces of feedback aren't so much questions, but they're just comments. So we'll go through some of those, and they're all on the Australian Open today. First of all, this one comes from Mike. Many hoping Cam would win, but there is no denying the brilliance of Rasmus on the last hole, and Cam was great too, though. What a wonderful tournament. This one from Greg. Incredible mental toughness to make the up and down with 30,000 cheering against him. This is Rasmus, a worthy winner. Those Scandinavians have ice running through their veins.
Yeah, they certainly do.
What a great finish to a great tournament.
Over 30,000. I think there was over 105,000 for the week, like for the 4 days.
Huge.
Wow. It was incredible numbers.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This is to your point, Mark, that you mentioned earlier on. Matt, what an incredible day. Geez, they did very well to get the course in that wonderful condition, which we've touched on earlier. Angela, an awesome 2 weeks of Australian golf. After Rory's comments on how good sandbelt courses are, the Victorian and Australian government needs to get behind the reinvention of the Australian Masters and maybe call it the Sandbelt Classics and move it around the sandbelt each year. Interesting?
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
The Sandbelt Masters. That'd be a nice little way to go.
Well, it'd be nice.
Bring out the gold jacket.
Yeah, get Huntingdale back on the schedule, right? I mean, the tradition continues. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
This is interesting. This is a bit of a negative here, sort of a negative, from Anthony. Hey, guys, I don't know if I've misinterpreted this. I know the crowd was supporting Cam, but when Peterson missed his approach shot at 18, there seemed to be a lot of clapping. I think we've changed. That is un-Australian. We should never cheer for a bad shot.
No, I agree. It had a little, not Ryder, well, kind of Ryder Cup-ish sort of feel to it towards the end, I guess you'd say. Not that Cam plays Ryder Cup, but yeah, you could definitely see, I mean, look, 99% of the crowd was pulling for Cam.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah, you hope sportsmanship's a little bit better than that. But yeah, there was a few inebriated people there towards the end, and they were having a good time.
Yeah, there certainly was.
I think in those cases, I think golf people understand that you don't cheer other people's bad shots, but there's a lot of theatre goers who came to have a look at the golf, and maybe the theatre goers don't understand it as well as golf people. There wasn't much. I understand the criticism, but I thought all in all the crowds were spectacular.
Yep.
I was there. I didn't think the clapping for a bad shot was over the top, personally.
No, there was just a little bit.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Now, we just heard the voicemail go off a second ago, so we'll have a listen to that.
You have one new voicemail. New message.
Hi guys, it's Michael from Hobart. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are with regard to Riggs Johnston, the defending champion at the Australian Open, who chose to play in South Africa rather than Melbourne. I can understand his motivation, given the extra prize money on offer in South Africa. I think it was a bit of a dick move on his part. What are your thoughts?
If I ever won a tournament like an Australian Open or a BMW Australian PGA, I'm playing that tournament for the rest of my life. That's what I would have thought. If you win something big like that, you come back. It doesn't matter what. Yeah, unless it's, I don't think Riggs was getting $1 million to go to Sun City. I don't think that was the case.
No, I think he was getting guaranteed money because it's 65 field, no cut.
Yeah.
I think he finished middle of the field, so he's probably thinking, might have been a better idea to go to the Australian Open. And by the way, that may have been the most polite way of calling someone a dick by Michael. It was a very lovely way of doing it, I thought. So, but no, especially an Australian Open at Royal Melbourne. You come down and you get to defend. Like, the focus will be on you, which is great. You want that focus, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for him. And I could not believe he did that. And the other person I was surprised that didn't come, because I thought he was slated to play, was Marco Penge. Now, he would have got paid a boatload to go to Nedbank, I'm assuming. But again, he finished 40-something over there in South Africa. So I thought, again, he'll probably look back and go, maybe I should have played the Aussie Open, because you don't at Royal Melbourne, because you're not going to get many chances. It's like the Open at St Andrews. You just don't get those opportunities. I was very lucky to play 2 there, and I cherish those moments. And anyway. Yeah, I agree.
So, Nick, tell me this. The money in Sun City, does that go on the 2026 European Tour money list? Is that what he might have been trying to do that just to guarantee him some?
Yeah, but
still, there's Australian Opens on the DP World Tour.
It doesn't matter. He's got 2 years because he won the Aussie Open. So,
that's right.
He's already got the exemption. Right. I think that's the case. It might only be 1 year. I don't know. But anyway.
Maybe it's only a 1 year because last year was only $2 million or whatever.
Maybe.
Who knows?
All right, message here from Paul. Paul has said, "G'day, gents. Surely the story, certainly for me, one of the stories of the Australian Open this week is John Senden making the cut, still competing with the young guys and doing so with his health challenges is really quite remarkable."
Yeah, it's amazing. I saw his coach Ian Triggs, funnily enough, during the week. Might have been on the Saturday that he'd made the cut because Sendo has onset of Parkinson's. So, he's the hand's shaking a little bit. And I actually said to Triggsy, I said, how does he go with, the golf, playing golf and putting especially? And he says, no, when he puts his hands on the club, the shaking stops.
Oh.
So he actually said, look, he's working really hard. He hasn't had a great few years, but he's playing really well. And to make the cut at an Australian Open at his age, which is, mid-50s like us, Mark, that's an incredible effort. And I really hope he can get another year on Champions, which I heard he may get another year because he would have lost his card, but I think they might have changed the career money category for the Champions Tour. So he may get another year. And if he's starting to play well, we'll look out for him next season. I'm not sure exactly, but always great to see Sendo out there. He's one of the great guys.
Just a total flusher as well.
Oh, so good. And a really good putter too. You ever watch him putt? I mean, he's an Australian Open winner as well. He won around, was it Royal Sydney or the Australian? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I have to think about that.
I don't know whether I've told you this before. When Sendo came out on tour, he wasn't a good putter.
Really?
And at the time, I was holding everything. So he actually used to stand behind me to watch me putt. He didn't stand there for long. He took off in the end.
Okay.
Okay, comment here from Nathan. Hey, guys, love the pod. I love watching the Australian Open. The talk of the greens being cut on day 2 got me thinking, when do the greenkeepers make that call? Is it a daily thing or do they already map out that thinking prior to the tournament? The same with the pins. Have they already mapped those out, what they're going to do, or is there a plan prior to it starting? And when do they tell the players? And do they put the hole literally anywhere on the green? Or do they
anything else?
8 or 10 options?
Anything else?
And there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there. So there's 3 questions there. Greens being cut, where do the pins go? When do they make the decisions? And do they tell the players?
Yeah. So first of all, as if we're going to take the Australian Open as an example, you look at the weather, the northerly, what the greens are like going into the tournament, how fast they are. They knew, given the conditions, it was going to be tough to cut the greens, which is why they held back. And it was a good decision, I thought. Otherwise, it could have got a bit dicey. And there's nothing worse than having, a suspension or, as we've spoken about in previous pods, at an Australian Open. You don't want that to happen, those sorts of debacles. Pin position-wise, yes, the decisions are made probably the night before or early on in the week. They're going, right, where are the 4 pins? Which days do we want to do it? Typically what they do is a combination of easy, hard, medium in one round. And then the one thing that changed that this week was because of the northerly on the first day, they went with 18, not easy ones, but ones that wouldn't be affected by the breeze because they knew where the wind was going to be coming from when it's strong. Now, if it's a lighter breeze in different directions, it doesn't really matter too much. There may be 1 or 2 pins where it's like, oh, hang on, like the front left of 6, for example. I love that pin, and they put it there 2 days. I was really hoping they might do it 3 days, but it only went there 2. But those decisions are made beforehand, not on the fly, and the players typically find out the pins either that morning or the night before or something like that. So would that be right, Mark? I'm from memory.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think there's always a plan until something unexpected comes along, and then they change her up.
Yeah, I think on the last day they actually had a couple of late changes. Like we were in the commentary booth and we had the pins and we were all ready to go, and then all of a sudden when they set the pins, they realised, oh, hang on, this part of the green is dried out a bit more than what we thought, so let's just move it a pace over this way. So it's usually only a change of 1 or 2 paces where it was going to be, but it was just great to see those Sunday pins, especially that one on 18 in that far right. It's so good over there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got so many comments and questions we could get through, but we're not going to have time for them all. But I'll finish on a couple here. This one from Rocket. Hey, guys, after watching the Australian Open, what an amazing tournament. I'd like you to explain some terminologies to me that were being said for people like me who are just getting into golf, like false front and protecting the field. These were mentioned when they said they weren't going to cut the grass for Thursday. I'm sure some other newcomers to the game might also be scratching their heads. Love to know. Keep up the good work.
You want to go, Mark?
Okay, well, I'll do the false front. So it's cut like a green, but the ball won't sit there at the front of the green, or sometimes the back as well. So even though it looks like green, it's not really part of the green because a golf ball won't stay on it and the ball will roll off. So when that happens, and it happens quite a bit at Royal Melbourne, there's quite a few false fronts to where you would expect the golf ball just to sit on the green, but it doesn't. And it effectively makes the green smaller.
Yes. Yeah, the greens are large there, but they play small in some instances, like the 6th green's a great example. You know, you've probably got 7 or 8 paces on the left where the ball will stay on the green there, but it might be 15 paces deep in that section. The first 7 or 8, ball just won't sit there. So we call that a false front. So in that sense, spot on. Protecting the field. So what that means typically is, well, there's a few different variations for that. You know, one of the things of protecting the field is if someone's ball is behind or next to the hole and someone else is chipping on, you want that person to mark the ball so that they can't use that as a backstop, because that player should be protecting the rest of the field by saving, you know, not giving this guy another advantage or saving a stroke. So that's one way of thinking, protecting the field. In the case of the greens we were talking about with cutting them, I think that just made it fair for everyone, because some instances you may get conditions where all of a sudden the wind's picking up early in the morning and these pins are just too difficult, and then in the afternoon or vice versa, the wind's dropped and now this pin becomes very playable and easy, so it's not really fair for the entire field. So you're trying to protect the entire field in those cases.
Yeah, that's for Thursday, Friday. If you don't know, in Thursday and Friday golf, you get one early and one late, and you get one off the first tee, one off the 10th tee. So they try and balance it out beautifully. But if one particular pin placement was playable on one day but unplayable on the other day, then you haven't really protected the field.
Yep, spot on.
We'll finish on this one. This is a bit of a fun one. This is from Damo. Damo has said, it was good to see Nick and Dan on the balcony of Royal Melbourne Clubhouse as Mark yelled out, "Can I get in with this pass?" And Nick's just said, "Tell them who you are."
And I think Mark's reply was, "Well, they'll never let me in then."
Mate, they didn't even ask.
Oh,
they just saw me come around the corner and they said, "Come in, sir. Would you like something to drink?"
They even got the red carpet out, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Well, that's the feedback for Southern Golf Club. Nick, masterclass is yours today.
Yes.
I'm worried about it because after what happened last week where the podcast jumped the shark, or at least the masterclass did, you've said this week you're going to take a leaf out of Mark's book.
Well, his was the laziest masterclass I've probably witnessed, but I'm not going to be.
Dan, cue the Jaws music right now, quick.
Well, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to be demonstrating it, because I want we'll get some footage for this masterclass, because I want people to watch, I think, 2 great examples of how to handle pressure, because, you know, that's one of the most common questions we all get asked as pros and I think you said earlier, Dan, you know, the amount of pressure Cameron Smith must have been feeling over that last putt, that 5 or 6 footer. Now, he missed it, obviously, you know, didn't go in, but I don't really want to talk about that putt. I thought one of the greatest putts all week that was struck was Cam's putt on the 17th. Now, he knows if he misses this, he's going 1 stroke behind in his National Open at Royal Melbourne, playing the final hole. Incredible pressure. Now, you watch Cam in that moment and his routine never deviated. One thing Mark and I, and we all talk about, in Baker Finch has spoken about as well in the podcast we did with him, he said putting, it's all about routine and process. And in those key moments when the pressure is at its greatest, the reason people flourish in those moments is because they rely on their routine, their pre-shot routine, something they've practiced for hours and hours and hours. They dedicated all this time and they've got it down to the millisecond at times. And you watch Cam on that putt on 17, he walks into the ball, he puts his putter down, the right hand is on there, his left hand is on his left leg. He gets set, he gets comfortable, he has a look, and then he has this last look where he traces his eyes. He has one last look right at the end. He's really focusing intently on the hole and where the ball's going to drop in, and then he traces his eyes back to the ball, pulls the trigger. That's his routine, whether it's a 3-footer, a 6-footer, a 30-footer. He does it. He did it on the final putt. Unfortunately, that didn't work for him. Now, whether that was a misread or something, I don't really know. The stroke looked pretty good to me. Right hand, sorry, not right hand. I'm thinking of the Norwegian now. Peterson, again, he had that putt on the final green. He thinks, if I miss this, I'm probably losing the Australian Open. But if you watch him, I did a close-up of him putting his ball down in front of the coin. His hands, if you're nervous, you're going to see the hands shaking. His hands are actually really steady. I couldn't believe how composed he was in that moment, because my hand would have been struggling to put the ball down, basically, because he's got the line on it, and you could see him just making tiny adjustments, and his fingers were as still as anything. So hats off to him there for not being so nervous. But then you watch him, how he went through his routine. He puts his left hand on the club where he's got the arm lock going. He brings his right hand on. He has one look, and then he pulls the trigger. If he'd have taken 2 or 3 looks, you knew he would have been under enormous pressure, and you knew he was out of his routine. But the routine never changed. So the masterclass this week is develop a routine. And I know we've said this before, but develop something that works for you, that you can trust, that you don't spend too long over the ball thinking about it, whether it's a visualization scenario like you've got with Cam as he's looking at the last, part of the putt, tracing eyes back to the ball, or if it's more of a catch and shoot type scenario like a Peterson, which is what I tend to do. Develop that. Focus on that. And when you get in those key moments where you're really feeling pressure and nerves, focus on that. It's all about focusing about the process, and then the result takes care of itself. Now, if the result doesn't work out for you, well, what more could you have done? And that's all you can do in this game. Right. And that's the masterclass. Pretty simple.
Perfect masterclass. You summed it up beautifully. And even Resimus, I noticed this when he was on Dunks Island in the garbage. He did all his work behind the ball, well away from the ball, just trying to feel how the club would go through. When he got over the ball, there wasn't any messing around.
No.
He got straight into it, pulled the trigger, probably stuck to his normal routine. So everything was done well and truly beforehand, getting a feel for something. But once he got into motion, it was exactly the amount of time that he'd probably normally take, and he couldn't have hit that shot any better either.
Yep.
All right, boys. Now, that'll do for today. Mark, you're up in Queensland for a few days, so we'll do a feedback pod a little later in the week if Trish can give you permission to jump on and take some time away from the family, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm happy to.
Enjoy that flat white or that little pina colada you got going.
Pina colada. Sweet. Same boys.
See you, Shandy.
No, that's right.
Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen. Live from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. FootJoy, the #1 shoe and glove in golf. The Golf Clearance Outlet, they beat everyone's prices. BMW, luxury and comfort for the 19th hole. Better, ahead of the game. Ping will help you play your best. And Host Plus, they can help you drive your retirement further. Now that's a plus. Issued by Host Plus Pty Limited. This is general advice. Consider the PDS and TMD on our website before deciding. Wherever you listen or watch, we'd love you to subscribe and share the pod with a friend. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design by Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com. And now from Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, that's been Talk Birdie to Me.